So I'm going to start with the center of the daisy, and we're going to do a magic circle and work into the magic circle for a perfect circular ring. And so you can just place the tail over your fingers like this and wrap it around like this, and then cross over, make an X, and put it straight back on the back of your fingers like this so that you have two parallel lines. And then I'm going to be using an F hook. So an F5, which is a 3.75 millimeter hook, and I'm going to slide it underneath the first strand, and I'm going to grab the second strand, and I'm going to pull through like so, and then go back to this first strand over here, and then kind of pull up a little bit and pull through the loop. And then you can just let go, and that is the magic circle like that. So when you find the tail, when you pull on the tail, it makes the circle. It pulls on the circle, makes the circle smaller. Okay, so go ahead and do your wind up. And then I'm just going to have the tail on the right side like this, and I'm going to single crochet along this strand. So you can pinch the strand like this so that you can have some control. Pull on the tail to make the hole a little smaller so that it's easier to work into. So anyway, go ahead and pinch it so that things don't move on you, just like so. And go ahead and work into the ring and make 8 single crochet in the ring. Okay, so that is 8. So we have 8 single crochets. And then go ahead and you can pinch it here and just tighten up the ring so that all these 8 come together. And you can actually leave it a little loose so you can get into this next single crochet, because now what we're going to do, see, now it's this perfect little circle. So you could do stitch markers if you want to, but because we're doing so few rows, you can really get away without using them, because what we're going to do now is we're going to do a slip stitch in that first single crochet we made to form a perfect circle. So go ahead, and sometimes you need to grab the strands if it's kind of tight. So don't be afraid to use your hook to kind of get a starter so that you can get in there. So go ahead and do a slip stitch into that first single crochet, pulling all the way through. Okay, and now you can go ahead and tighten your circle a little bit to close the hole. So now you can chain 1, and you can single crochet in the same stitch. So go ahead and go back to where you were. So you're coming out right here. So you're still in here. Go ahead and single crochet, and we're going to form a new row on top of this row without adding any stitches. So we're going to do another 8. So go ahead and do 1 here, go to the next single crochet, slide underneath those 2 strands, pull up a loop, there are 2, and then just go around. all 8 single crochets. Okay, so that's 8. And then you just go back, because see, now there is a bit of a gap, so you want to make sure you jump that and go back to where that first single crochet is. And so because there's a gap there because it is bigger, and so if you wanted a better, more perfect circle, you would be adding stitches to make a bigger perimeter, but we're not going to do that. So you can count backwards if that's more helpful for you. So going backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here we are. This is where we began. So go ahead and slide under there and do another slip stitch. And then chain 1, and then single crochet in the same stitch again, and we're going to do one more round. And 8. And you'll notice the yarn is starting to curl toward me, and that's just because when you're not adding stitches, you're not going to keep a perfect circle. It's going to start to fold like so, which is what we want. Okay, so now just counting backwards so you don't go into the wrong stitch. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is where we need to go into. And so go ahead and slide in underneath those single crochets. And now instead of doing the slip stitch here, we're going to drop this yarn and we're going to add the white for our color change. So here's the same brand of yarn so that we'll stay consistent with the kind of yarn we're using. And I'm just going to fold it over the hook like this and then pull through and use that for the slip stitch. And then just kind of make the tail longer if you need it to be longer, because we're going to cut and weave that in later, so it doesn't matter at this point. And then my loop now on the yellow is a little too big, so pull back on that. And then pull back on that. Make sure everything is flush and tight, but not too tight. Great, so we've done our color change. The yellow is folding in on us. We can leave it like this for now, but we are going to turn it inside out in a minute, but we'll go ahead and just leave it like this for now. If that's easier for you to work in. You can do it now if you want, but I'm going to leave it like this for the time being. So now we are in that single crochet, and now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in the same stitch. Okay, and then we're going to single another 2. So altogether 3 single crochets in the same stitch. So just 2 more. and then pull it back so you can see what you're doing. Make sure you stay in that same stitch. Okay, so now we have 3 little single crochets in that 1 single crochet, and now we're going to build the height of the petal. So you're going to chain 1, and you're going to turn, and you're going to single crochet in the same stitch. So if you turn it, you can see 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So you're going to want to work into this one. So slide underneath those strands, pull up a loop, make your single, go into the next, like so, and make your third right here in that first single crochet. Great, and then looking back, and if you want to turn this way to see what you're doing, 1, 2, 3, so you've got 3. And we're going to do 6 rows. So this is row 2, we're going to go to row 3, chain 1, turn, single crochet in the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, it's right here. And 3. And you can use all your other fingers and your nails, because these end pieces get a little tight sometimes. Okay, so now we have 3, we need 3 more. Turn, single and same. And chain 1, turn, we've got 4, we need 2 more. All right, so this is row 6. So single and same, and single in the next 2. One of the tips I have is if you're having a hard time getting in, like I'm struggling when I come to the ends on these, so take your hook and grab that first strand and tug on it a little bit. Grab the next strand, because you're wanting to slide underneath the strands of that single. So go ahead and use your hook to kind of loosen those up a little bit, and then that way you can just get in there so much easier. Okay, so now we have 6 rows of single crochets. So now chain 1 for the very last time, turn it again, and now you're going to decrease in the next 3 single crochets. So you're going to decrease the entire row to make 1 single crochet. So if you've never done this before, so what you're going to do is you're going to insert like normal, grab and pull up a loop, and instead of going through like you would, you continue on to the next one. So now you've got 2 loops on the hook. You're going to slide under, the next single crochet, and you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to go to the third, yarn over, pull up a loop, and so you're going to have 4 loops on the hook, and you're going to yarn over and draw through all 4 loops to make 1 single, and that's going to make the top tip of the petal. And so this is the petal, using all single crochets. So now I'm going to chain 9, because I want to have it the same length when turning it around. I want it to be the length of the petal, and that looks really good. Great. Because I want this to sit behind the petal, and then I can move on to the next petal. And so to join it, there are 2 ways you can do this. If you feel more comfortable just sliding it in the same single on the side, you can, but what I'm going to do to make sure this is tucked behind even more is I'm going to go through the back, behind and in between these 2 single crochets on the bottom right here. So there's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to be in the middle of the last one and the middle one. And then I'm going to find the single crochet that they came out of, which is right here, and I'm going to lead in with my hook to get in there. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So I'm coming out of that same single crochet, and it's tight. That's why you can do it this way, or I'll show you how to do it the easier way, but I want to do it this way because I want that chain to be directly behind the petal. And then you just pull through those 2 single crochets from the petal and continue the slip stitch. So you're slip stitching in between the middle single crochet and the last single crochet on the left, because we're going to build petals going this way. And now that you've done that, you can slip stitch in the next. If you are finding that is too hard, or you don't like that, let's go back. And if it's easier for you, you don't have to go in between those single crochets. Just slide it over. And find the single that you've been working out of and just go to the side of that single crochet. And that'll work just fine too. It's just that it's going to be a little bit more to the left, but that's totally fine. If that is easier for you, then you can do it that way, and it's really not that big of a deal, and it'll still look good. Also, I'm going to take a minute, I'm going to drop everything, and where I did the color change, I need to snip off the yellow. And if you want, it's no big deal to just tie these together. And you can even make just a regular knot if you want to. If you don't and want to keep things as flat as possible, you can just tie it one time, and then you can weave in the ends if you want to do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and just make a knot because it's not going to show, and so it really is not that big of a deal because it's not going to show at all. Because when you unfold the center, it's going to be tucked underneath on the inside. Okay, so now that we've completed this petal, we're going to go to the next petal, And so find your next single crochet, which is right here, and you're going to do a slip stitch to establish your spot in that space, just like that. And now we're ready for another petal. And then after you've slip stitched in the next stitch, you're going to want to chain one every single time before you begin your row. And then single crochet, 3 single crochets in the same stitch. Great. And so go ahead and repeat this. Do 7 more petals all the way around. And if you want to, go ahead and drop your loop and take a minute to weave these ends in so you don't have to worry about them anymore and they don't get in the way. Just take your little yarn needle with the blunt end, and I'm going to start with the center tail. Okay, so I'm going to go and slide under anywhere right here next to it, and I'm going to do a sewing knot. You probably remember this in sewing class. Just like that, and tie it off like that. That way it's not going to open back up and it's going to stay nice and tight. And then you can weave through a few more of these single crochets just to kind of blend it in. And so I'm just going to go to one more, because I'm not going to do much because it's already tied off and it's not going to show. And so that's good enough for me. And I'm going to pull just a little bit tighter, snip it close, and so when you straighten it back out, it all disappears in the weave. And then do the same thing for the yellow. You don't have to do that knot tie because it's already been knotted here. You can just weave it in a couple times and snip it. And then with the white, just weave it in the back of this bottom row of single crochets. And we can do that together. When it's short like this, I like to feed the needle in first. So if that's not a long tail, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start from the back, and I'm going to weave. I'm going to weave in and out, and maybe come over here, just like that. And then I'm going to put it in. I find that this is a lot easier when the tail is short. And then you just pull through like that, and then pull a little bit tighter, and snip it off, and then when you straighten it back out, it disappears. Okay, so anyway, you can go ahead and do it for the last yellow, back into the yellow yarn back here, and then continue on with your petals, and I will see you back. And then if this is hard to work in, you can either keep doing this and unfold it as you go, or you can pop it out now. And see, some of my tail did come through this way. So all you do is just pull a little bit and snip it close, and then pull back and it'll disappear. So don't worry about that. Okay, so anyway, this is the center of the daisy. And if it's easier for you to do it like this, you can see them very clearly. and make your petals all the way around the center, and I will see you back at the beginning. Okay, so I finished my last petal and I did my chain 9, and like I've been doing, I'm going to come through the middle of the 2 single crochets on the left of the petal. I'm going to use my hook to guide myself and drop through that stitch that I've been working out of, and I'm going to pull through and do my final slip stitch behind the petal. And so after you've made that final slip stitch, go ahead and yarn over again and pull through and make a long tail, and you can cut it off. And then just pull it tight, and that's the flower. And then I haven't shaped it yet, so it's looking a little crazy right now. And just go ahead and weave in the tail now if you want to, and then just pull it through. And that'll be good enough for me. And then I just pull a little extra and snip it off, and it disappears. So here it is. Here is the daisy. And you can squish this down a little bit if it's bulking out a little bit too much. And then if you want, you can just pull it and you can start to shape the petals. And you just kind of pull on them and straighten them out. Just like that. And there should be 8. And if you want to, when making doilies, you would make your doily and then you would hand wash it with a mild detergent, and then you would lay it flat on a towel and shape it, and then when it dries, it holds its shape better. And so if you wanted to, you could do that with this flower. This is going to be the center of a baby blanket, and so I'm going to be using the backs of the petals to work into when making the afghan that is going to make the little baby blanket. So there is my little spring daisy. It is quick and easy, and it is cute and can be a fun little center to a baby blanket for someone's baby shower. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next project.